What's going on, y'all? Okay, as you can see from the background, it's light outside. I got this episode. Once again, they done leaked it online. Thank God, because I wouldn't have watched it. Honestly, to be honest, I'm just so glad that it's over with. And this is Basketball Wives LA season 4 reunion, because I don't believe it's a second part. At the end of the episode, he was like, "Girl, we'll see y'all back next week to see what the fuck happened with this group." We already know. Let me put it out there. Everybody's coming back except for Drake. All right, so let me just get this, because apparently I touched some nerves to like 50 some people, because the 50 some people thumbs down the fuck out my video last week, because everybody was Team Shaunie and Team Tammy. And I think everybody was looking at it as if, oh, she the executive producer. Shaunie ain't got no motherfucking power. Let me tell you how she ain't got no motherfucking power. Because Shaunie is one of 7 executive producers on this show. Yes, a bitch went to go look that shit up. Okay? She ain't got the authority to do all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? And we'll get there. We'll get there, because I got some stuff to say. And it just baffled me how a lot of people, and I seen, I know who really come and watch, and that fucking video got a lot of fucking views. I was like, damn, y'all was thirsty to see what people had to say. But I appreciate, no lie, we may have different opinions of, what went down and all this stuff. And, I appreciate everybody who came on and left a comment and who was respectful and actually watched the video, whether you agree with me or not. And the whole Shaunie thing, trying to so-called make it seem like she was firing Brandy. I was coming from a place, people was like, oh, you wouldn't call nobody a bitch. Look, I've been in a situation where I had a boss come at me, belittle me, attack me, and all that stuff. And I did call that bitch a bitch, okay? And what happened? She got in trouble, not me. And I got my ass a promotion, okay? That's where I'm coming from. And there's a difference between this reality shit, it's supposed to be unscripted, it's unfiltered, it's organized and all this stuff. It's not following a set pattern like in a corporate world. In a corporate world, or even in a regular business world where you go to a place 9 to 5 or whatever, somebody owns something, you know who your boss is, and there are boundaries that are not to be touched, okay, and lines that are not to be crossed. In a corporate world, what Brandy said, and let me put this out here, because I don't like none of these bitches, okay? I tolerate them. And let me just throw it out here right quick. Jackie motherfucking Christie. Jackie pisses us off throughout the whole seasons of Basketball Wives LA. And then all of a sudden, come season 4, towards the last 2 episodes, she was cool as fuck, didn't have shit to say, and didn't get on the goddamn reunion and ain't make now one scene, okay? Sat her ass there quiet and didn't speak until spoken to. I said, Jackie, what the fuck are we learning? Okay, bitch, And if this is just a part 1, I'm glad it's just a part 1. They didn't need to go too much in depth with it. Of course, Drea wasn't there. But back to the corporate thing. When you're in the corporate world or any type of business world, and you working for a company, you working for a boss or whatever, you don't necessarily see a boss commingling with their employees to the point that the employees get the confusion or the lines are blurred. You know what I'm saying? We're not girlfriends. We're not boyfriends. We're not friends or whatever. I am your boss. You know that I'm your boss, all right? And if you approach me any type of way other than a professional way, you can get written up, you can get warnings, and you can get a possible suspension or termination, okay? Depending on what you say throughout that process, all right? Basketball wise, these reality stars, these reality shows, they don't work on that same format, obviously. Alright, because you can talk to anybody any type of motherfucking way. But if you want to invoke the fact that you're a boss, Shaunie, you don't co-mingle with your motherfucking cast, alright, to the point that they get comfortable enough. Why was it that she was comfortable enough to even let that come out her mouth? I don't care if it was a slip of the tongue. Why was she even comfortable enough to let that bitch come out her mouth? Okay? And you were looking down on your cast, all right? We went through the fucking footage. You were talking shit about them. For everybody who want to say, oh, I don't see what she was doing this. I don't see what, we must not been watching the same thing, but it's fine. But, no. You were talking down on your cast. Brandy said what was on her mind. And the reason why Brandy said what was on her mind, because that's how she felt. And you gave her that opportunity to say that. You want to know why? Because you came on here as a fucking as a co-member, a co-worker, as a employee, as yourself, and as a cast member. That's what you came on here to. You didn't come on here and throw out your executive producer hat and say, hey, I made this shit, so this is how you got to look at me when we circling around here. No, you was going places and doing stuff and meeting up with them as if y'all was really good friends, as if y'all was friends or whatever. You weren't throwing around your boss hat or whatever. So therefore, lines get blurred, boundaries get blurred, boundaries got crossed. You has a part as a boss, as you want to say, you have a part in that too. Because you could have came on here and let them realize that, I am your boss, but I can still be here too. But obviously you did. Okay? Because if you did, what happened at the end of the last episode wouldn't happen. Alright? That's what I'm getting at. You don't see, either you're going to be a cast member or you're going to be the boss behind the motherfucking scene directing and all this stuff. You could have did both, but you didn't do it both. You didn't do it right. You don't see Mona Scott Young, another executive producer, another real fucking boss on a VH1 television show, producing this stuff, trying to get into her cast members, storylines, trying to make her own stuff a storyline. Shaunie didn't really have no storyline, so it really wasn't no purpose for her to be on the show. Tammy didn't have no storyline, so it was no purpose to be on the show, but to start mess and to bring in so-called ratings or whatever. Okay? I don't know how much the ratings were, but truth be told, we really didn't need Tammy. Okay? Because I honestly feel like they would have gotten into some fuck shit themselves, alright? And, you don't see Mona Scott trying to get in front of the camera. Mona Scott maybe hosted a couple of reunion shows, and we was like, bitch, that's it. We don't need you no more. And she stepped the fuck back, and she learned her motherfucking lesson. You, on the other hand, you're a part of the cast, so therefore, if just you a part of the cast, I'm going to treat you part of the cast. Okay? I'm not finna shy away and feel like I can't talk to you. You acting like you my good girlfriend or whatever. I'm gonna call your ass out, bitch. If I can shade this person, I'm gonna shade your ass. You not gonna sit here and try to shade me and read me when I try to tell you the guy off of the honest truth. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Brandy could have said it a different way, but she said it slipped up. This is what she said on the reunion, and this is why I'm still here for Brandy, in the sense that she didn't bite her motherfucking tongue, okay? And I still think that Shaunie was a weak bitch for trying to throw out her authority all of a sudden. Now you want to put out there that you the fucking boss. Now you want to put out there that you one of 7 people who signed the paychecks, okay? Come on, go to Bravo TV. Bravo Network, Married to Motherfucking Medicine. Mariah used to throw out there that she was the executive producer. She the queen bee and all this shit. And they took her off the fucking season the next season. Threw her ass on at the end of the season. Okay, so what real power does the executive producer have, especially when you're one of many on a show? Everybody got to be in conjunction. Okay, so that's what I'm saying, and I'm just like, a lot of people aren't saying that, but it's still gonna be people that's gonna be like, still that's her boss. You shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. If we was in the business, we not in the business or a corporate world. We not. And for them to say, well, Brandy, you ain't gonna be able to eat. You need to get your coins up, and this is part of to give you a job. Truth be told, them bitches was still eating when this show wasn't on the goddamn air, because it wasn't on the air for a year. Okay, what was they doing then? They was still eating and all that stuff. They was still getting their money. They didn't need this show. This show put them out there and got them a little bit of recognition, but they were still, eating before the show, after the show, and during the show. Okay, so this wasn't their steady income. And truth be told, I'm pretty sure LA cast was not getting paid nearly as much as the Miami cast. That's one. All right. And back to when I said, Shaunie, don't nobody know you outside of Shaunie. The reason why Shaunie got this damn show is because of who her husband was and the drama surrounding her. All right. That's mostly what people know her for. Just like that's mostly what people know these other women for. Their husband. Okay, and most of us didn't even know who the fuck their husbands were. And Shaunie just picked these bitches and put them on this goddamn show and gave them a little notoriety. Shaunie took a negative and made a positive, meaning that she found a way to make herself some more money without relying on Shaq. But let's be honest. Shaunie, who was she before Shaq? Who were any of these women before this show? Well, not necessarily before this show, but before they was with their husband. They ain't had what they had. Okay, and then yeah, they didn't have that notoriety until they got on this show, so that's understandable. You know what I'm saying? Everybody damn near came from the same motherfucking place. All right, you know, and now we want to act like we this and we that or whatever. Girl, get the fuck out of here. John Sally, his ass, you know, hosting a reunion and shit. This nigga, we don't see him doing shit else. He come out of retirement just to do this shit. I said, I guess, you know, a check is a check. But excuse me, Drea's not there. She's not coming back. We already know that it's another season coming up. Everybody's coming back minus Drea. You know, Shaunie tried to act like, you know, at the end, I don't know if this whole cast will be back or who will be back or won't be back and all this stuff. Bitch, everybody's going to be back, okay? There you go. Tammy, I don't know. And yes, they are doing a Basketball Wives Houston. So I wouldn't, all this stuff, if you ask me, everything was for ratings. Everything was for ratings, for drama, and all this stuff. And you want to know why I say that? Come on, y'all. This is the same Shaunie who everybody else in my comments prior to that episode was calling a fucking bitch, saying she messy as shit, and all this stuff. But because Brandy called her a bitch, oh, now she's the boss, and you don't do that. And I'm Team Shaunie. I was like, girl, get the fuck out of here. But it's cool, whatever. And this is the same person who gave a job, quote unquote, and paid, quote unquote, one of the chicks that your husband cheated on you with. Laura. You put her on too. So that's why I'm like, this is all for ratings and drama and shit. Let me get some people to watch so we can get some revenue going up in here. That's what I feel like. You know, so when the reunion, I actually started talking for like 11 minutes about this shit. Bitch, I went off. I just had some shit to say because I was like, damn, y'all not getting where I'm coming from. Like, I could see where everybody else was coming from when they was like, you don't talk to your boss like that. And I get it. You know, I'm coming from a personal experience and I'm coming from all sides. But, you know, Shaunie, you were not innocent in this, okay? You know, you have to look at your role too. Why did this bitch feel comfortable enough to tell you that? You know, and then we're going to get on something else. Megan, they started off about Megan lying to the group and all this stuff, and they showing clips, and basically Megan said she wouldn't do it again. No, she wouldn't change nothing because she's like, who I gotta prove to, and you know, I don't know these bitches, so it is what it is. Tammy was like, yeah, you were, you know, lying. Tammy looked horrible. Tammy, I don't know if it was the hair. It was the hair, and I don't know if she got bronzer on or if she got a tan, but it just did not mesh well. That was throwing me off. Jackie even looked okay, y'all. Jackie looked fucking okay. She had her hair right and everything. I said, Jackie, what the fuck? You just got tired of everybody going in on your ass. So you said, let me fucking listen. I was like, all right, Jackie. But anyway, Brandy, I ain't like what she had on. I thought that shit was cut too damn low. And they did a clip or whatever. They come to find out Brandy did try out for Basketball Wives Miami, and she had the exact same fucking hairstyle that she had on this motherfucking reunion. I said, damn, bitch. You know, and don't get me wrong, Brandy is annoying as fuck, okay? And I do think that, you know, with all the stuff that's going on with her and her marriage, she is an angry person at times, okay? And she do want to be a bodyguard to Malaysia. I be like, damn, let Malaysia talk for her goddamn self. Malaysia just be sitting there like, this bitch gonna talk for me, so I ain't even gotta do nothing. You know, even if I tell her to shut the fuck up, she just gonna jump in. All right? But all of them annoying as hell to me. But, you know, Tammy said you did lie. It is what it is. Then they talk about Angel and her intro to the group, you know, and because Angel was still somewhat affiliated with Drea, Brandy's still not here for her. And I'm like, girl, it don't matter. It don't matter. You know, let it go. Because even Brandy said, you know, Angel said she thought that she wasn't going to like Brandy after all the stuff that she heard about her and the fact that she had the resting bitch face and all that stuff. And I was like, I mean, looks can be deceiving, but she kind of proved you right a little bit because, you know, she's just, I get where people come from and they be like, Brandy's just not that likable. Like, you know, she's annoying as hell. I get it. They talked about the Santa Barbara trip and Jackie getting, putting it out there about the stirring the pot, about the real friend and all this stuff. And Tammy was like, yeah, girl, you was out there throwing bones to bring back a bone, to throw another bone and all that stuff. And I was like, Jackie was sitting there like, oh, really? I was? And I was like, girl, yes, you were. Okay. And they talking about Megan and her getting into it and her spitting on Megan And she was like, I just did it to make sure that she knew where I was coming from or whatever. I wasn't really trying to spit on her and all this stuff and make her know that I want the one to play with and all this stuff. I said, Jackie, you was pissed off, you was drunk, and you spit on that girl, and it was disgusting, okay? Don't ever do it again. They talked about the laughs of the season, doing the little clips, and come to find out, Malaysia and Brandy and Jackie, they all cool. Malaysia was like, if you die, if this happened, if that happened, I'd be there, I'd cry, but you just annoying as fuck, okay? Mind you, they get into this explanation because they go into the Brandy and Jackie fight when her diamond fell out. She trying to explain, through the fourth and the fifth cord, and then, sometimes it was loose, and it was already loose the other week ago, and I just didn't, fix the chat. She was really trying to explain this shit, and all the while, Malaysia them telling her, Jackie, close your legs. Close your legs. She was like, don't worry about it. I got panties on. We was all like, girl. And see, this is what I mean about Shaunie. Like, Shaunie wasn't even needed on this episode or needed up there because most of the time she was mute. Like, she didn't say nothing. But anyway, they talked about Brandy and Malaysia's relationship. Malaysia says she's happy that she's single. She's free. She knows herself. She don't have to wake up worrying about, if she's being cheated on. She got time for her friends, for her child, and all that stuff. And, Brandy saying that her and her husband are getting back to where they used to. He used to be her best friend. Now they're on a friendship level. Brandy, I guess. She was like, it's a slow process. Bitch, it was a slow process on the damn show. All right? It is what it is. They talked about the fashions of the show. And Malaysia said basically she wouldn't get nothing else from Angel. Angel said that the clothes that she brought Malaysia, especially on the lingerie shoot and stuff, she got approved by Malaysia, and Malaysia was like, you told me to pick out what I wanted to wear, and I picked out what I wanted to wear. You brought some stuff in here, got me looking like a sexed up Power Ranger when I'm supposed to be advertising and showing off betting. That's not the look that I was going for, and all this stuff. And they just go back and forth a little bit, and basically was like, I'm not gonna work with her. And she was like, well, I apologize. And I posted some pictures of it online on my Instagram. Gave you a little shout out. Thank you and all that stuff. But, sorry that I didn't do what you want to do. I'm not going to do what any of these bitches up here do. Okay. Right then and there, Malaysia just called everybody, including Shaunie, a bitch. Ain't nobody get upset then, And here go Tammy. I don't like to be called a bitch, so don't. And I'm like, you don't like to be called a bitch, but yet you called each and every last one of these hoes on this stage a bitch. And then you called them more bitches when you got into it with Brandy. Okay. Okay, it is what it is. I mean, we got different interpretations of shit, but, okay. Then they get into this Angel and Megan beef. They automatically just didn't really like each other. They start talking about who calling who a thought, and, okay, you got an abortion. Here go Megan again, want to bring up the reason why she got an abortion. She got an abortion. She got pregnant by a basketball player. She grew up without a father or some shit like that, and she didn't want her child to be raised in that type of environment. And then she gonna say, is your kids father in their lives and all this stuff? And I don't know if Angel said no, but I do remember her saying that one of them is passed away. And then Megan was like, okay, and then that's fine. And I was like, Megan, just hush. Just hush. You're doing a lot for nothing. And then, they was like, Megan, you good for Googling somebody. Because next thing you know, she was like, girl, so you not an escort. So, this page named Backpage, this place called Backpage or whatever. She was like, girl, so this is an escort service. And why is your face all up on here? Before Megan could even get it out, Angel was like, oh, you talking about that page where they took my photos, and all of this is from 8 years ago. The people was taking my photos. The name was Christina up in Seattle. Is my phone number on there? And I'm just sitting here like, Megan, you making yourself look real stupid, because if Angel do, I don't care for Angel, but she looked like the type that'll fucking admit if she was fucking around for money or whatever. She looked like she ain't got shit to hide. I just get that feeling for her for some reason. And I just said, Tammy was like, so what, bitch, you was catfish? Basically, kinda. And I can see it because it happens. Like, people take pretty girl pictures off the internet and they post them and make them, to bring traffic to the site. And, y'all seen catfish and shit. And, Megan want to call everybody a hoe. In Megan's eyes, everybody's damn near thought a hoe or whatever. Angel was like, bitch, I ain't no thought. I'm a motherfucking fashion designer. Megan said, bitch, you can't be both. It's fashion designers and people of other occupations that's hoes too. I said, well, that is true. But girl, just hush, okay? Just hush. Then, they talked about Drea's exit and all that stuff. And once again, we get into the shit about the cancer stuff. Tammy want to offer her opinion, saying that she didn't feel like it was, she agreed with Drea. She didn't think that she was coming off wrong at her. And that's when they get into it. But Brandy was like, she was not here for that public apology that Drea put out because she felt like she was doing it for attention, doing it for public attention or whatever, or for publicity or whatever, because you have my number. Why put that out right when the episode was about to air? Why not call me up and tell me, apologize to me within all this time? I agree with that. And I see where she's coming from. I also see where Tammy coming from. Like, she was trying to look at it from Dre's side, or a side that she might have perceived to be Dre's side, that she did not really mean it the way that she meant it. We do agree that Brandy is boring, and this is what irked me about Tammy. Tammy started trying to come for Brandy and didn't even know her facts, okay? Please, if you're going to come for somebody, have your motherfucking facts, all right? She trying to say that all Brandy did was talk about her cancer throughout the whole season. Every season that she was on, she was like, the first season you did it, then the second season, and now this season. Brandy was like, boo, this is only my second season. And the first season, yes, I did talk about my cancer because that was my storyline as the introduction to me. Okay, and this season, and she is correct, and I've been saying that, Brandy was not talking about her cancer. The only time that shit came up was when she was talking about the event. That's it. But was she talking about her personally? No, she was talking about bringing, having a charity event in honor of cancers. You know what I'm saying? And that's when stuff got twisted, and them two get into it, and it was just, Tammy tried to come for Brandy, and I believe that Brandy stood her own and got Tammy on a lot of parts. She was like, bitch, you a thirsty bitch. Okay, that's why you was here on this show. Tammy wanted to say no, because the boss that signs your check and mine's brought me on here to bring some ratings to this show so you can keep a job. Like I said in the beginning, none of these bitches was hurting for no motherfucking money or no damn job. Alright, so that's really kind of null and void to me, in my opinion. And when Brandy said, bitch, you hop from reality show to reality show, you do. You do, Tammy. You do. Don't nobody really need you on the show because you don't bring nothing really positive to the show. Yeah, Tammy has her little acting shit going on, okay? I seen her, she had a little show on called Belle that was on TV1. That shit got canceled. Nobody even knew that shit was on because it came on so fucking late, and then it got canceled. I only seen a couple of episodes or so. And then she had a little, I think, 1 or 2 appearances. And I mean, when I say short, very, very short appearances on the Halle Berry TV show Extent. And that shit just got canceled. She wasn't even in the second season that just went off. She was only like once or twice in the first season. Very small. If you blinked, you would have missed her. She was like Rashida on Rosewood. You blinked, you would have missed her. So next thing you know, we don't hear nothing else from her, and all of a sudden, we hearing about her relationship. Why we hear so much about her relationship? Because she's about to be on marriage boot camp. So you are hopping from show to show to show, and then she was basically like, well, if you was smart, because if your man don't play, you need to get like me and get your coins up. And I was like, okay, I see your point there too. But just don't act like this show is the main source of income for these bitches, all right? Because it ain't. But they was going back and forth, and she calling her a bitch, and she trying to say, don't talk over me, that shows your immaturity. But y'all both was talking over each other. But I mean, whatever. And at the end of the day, even Jackie opened up her mouth and said, girl, let me tell you something. What Dre said was fucked up and wrong, and I told her that. So I agree with Brandy. Tammy, I'm apologize, but I don't agree with you. And that was basically it. Because then, they did the Brandy verse, Shaunie, and I already spoke about that shit. And I was so tired of them bringing up the lesbian rumors. Like, if they suck click, they suck click. If they don't, they don't. They ain't have to tell you. But that was basically it, y'all. I don't believe it's going to be another one. If it is, put it down in the comments. And once again, I respect everybody's opinion. Please respect mine. If you feel a different way, just put your, thing down in a respectful way. It's just TV. I just got this shit out. I had to get this shit out. Because girl, child, I'm over it. I am so over it. And yes, 9 out of 10, Ashley won't be reviewing next season because I just don't care no more. I don't care about this. If I wasn't the type of person that don't like to stop reviewing stuff in the middle, I would have been stopped reviewing this. But, it is what it is. I hope y'all like it. Discuss. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.